Okay, so I hope you can hear me well, and I would like to thank everybody, the organizer, and especially Lorenzo, that for the opportunity to participate in the book. That I have a copy here, and to participate today to this interesting discussion. I will try in 10 minutes to say something about our contribution in the book, and then to discuss it with you, with everybody. And so my contribution was about Europe. So of course, an international dimension with respect to the US, and it's about routinization. So a specific issue within the technological revolution we are talking about. Now, the routinization stuff, as you know, now is very established. There are many papers for the US, a little bit less for Europe, and it's just a part of the debate. And of course, as I have heard from the discussion, then you have the discussion on, for instance, about digital platform or Uber workers, contingent work, whatever, and this kind of job that are related to technology but are rather different from what I'm talking now. So I will let me see if I can use my, yes. So as you know, there are not so many papers for Europe. We consider many European countries, and in particular we use longitudinal data. That is important because we can follow individual over time, and it's interesting to understand where during job transition, where the worker goes over time. And so we will try to address some issue, for instance, whether the routine job are becoming the new unskilled in the labor market, if institution matter, and other things like that. So we use the silk data that are for basically all European countries. We have many information about characteristics of individuals, and we have the occupation variable, so we can understand the level of routinization of the individuals. And we have studied the period 2004-2012 using the silk data that started in 2004. So we use a very standard measure of routinization, that is the routine task intensity, developed by authors using ONET, that you probably know very well. That is a measure of the intensity of, for each occupation, it's a measure of the intensity of routinization with respect to manual and abstract job. Using this measure for each individual, for each occupation, we can evaluate how the routinization evolved over time in Europe. And also in Europe, as in the US, you can see that there is a straightforward, very clear reduction in the share of, in the intensity of routine task. And you can see that it applies to different group of countries. Now, as you know, Europe is not homogeneous, and so you have rather different institutional settings, for instance, between the southern countries, between the continental, the Nordic, the Anglo-Saxon. And so in this paper, we try to understand whether the trends are different across groups, and this would suggest that institution matters. No? If you have different trends, it might be that in some group of countries you have some trends that are due to specific institution, while in other countries you have different trend due to other institutions. As you can see, actually the trend is decreasing for all group of countries. So it seems that it does not depend on different institutions across a group of countries. And this is already an interesting finding. In a sense, it's not important where you are in Europe, you have this trend. And you can see that, for instance, for Nordic country, the level of the initial intensity in routine jobs was already low at the beginning of the period. And this might be due to the fact that the Nordic countries are the more technological countries in Europe, Sweden, Norway, Denmark. And so probably the routinization process took place before. While for the other countries, group of countries, they are very close. Still, you have a decreasing intensity of routine jobs. So it means that the technology, of course, the technological change is replacing routine workers, and other kind of jobs are increasing their occupational employment share, like manual services in particular, like in the US, and abstract cognitive jobs. Then we study the determinants of the routine jobs, but I don't spend time in the presentation. Here, I want to understand, to discuss the issue whether routinization is a driver of unemployment. And so we use longitudinal data to identify the determinants of becoming unemployed at time T+1 for those who are employed at time T. And of course, among the covariates, we have the RTI index, apart from other covariates like age, education, type of contracts, time, and country fixed effect. So it seems to just give a look to the red box. There are many coefficients, but for the presentation, just focus on that. So they are all, here you have all group of countries, and you see that the greater the RTI intensity, the higher the probability to become unemployed. And this is basically true for all group of countries. One might wonder to what extent this is true, and it's not negligible. We see that one standard deviation in the RTI index increased the baseline probability to become unemployed by 10% with respect to the baseline value. And this is not negligible. And then we can see that the crisis has accelerated the process. So after the crisis, you have a higher probability, especially for routine workers, to end up being unemployed, especially for Southern European countries that are the most exposed to the crisis. And this result might suggest that routine workers are becoming, those who are more exposed to shock in the labor market, are becoming the new unskilled in a sense. And how could we address this issue? We can see from these slides that also there is a positive correlation between having a routine jobs and receiving unemployment benefits in time T+1. So it means that, of course, since there are more unemployed that have a routine jobs, they are more likely to receive unemployment benefit. And this is due also to the fact that in Europe, the unemployment benefits are not mean tested, in a sense, no matter the job you do, you receive after 2 years of, for instance, in Italy, of employment, you receive the unemployment benefit. So if there are more routine workers that become unemployed, they receive the unemployment benefit. So in a sense, the welfare system is already taking into account this issue of routine workers as a new segment, in the weak segment in the labor market. And another issue, maybe the last one, I don't want to take too much time. We can show that job mobility is used by workers in a sense to escape from routinization. Why? Because we show that routinization is associated to higher unemployment and poor expectation perspectives. And so when we analyze the transition over time of workers that have routine jobs, we see that in the new job at time t+1, the level of routine intensity decrease. So in a sense, it's like they are trying to escape from this job that are more risky. So if they are able to change job, they try to go to other type of jobs that are less risky for them. And I don't spend time on. And we also show that where do the routine workers go? They move, especially to some of them, especially the best one, to abstract jobs, and the bad one, in a sense, to manual ones. So this is consistent to some papers in the US, like, for instance, Cortez 2014. So I don't have much more to say. I think it's a very interesting issue, even if, of course, it's just a part of the wider debate that is addressed in the book about internet and the impact on the labor market. But I hope that our contribution will be of interest of the readers. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paolo.